Life after high school hits different than what most of us expect. For years, we grow up inside a system where every step is laid out for us. Wake up, go to class, do your homework, pass the test, repeat. There's comfort in that routine because even if you don't love school, you at least know what tomorrow looks like. Then graduation comes along. Caps fly in the air, people congratulate you, and it feels like you've reached some huge finish line. But the truth is, that finish line is really just the starting line of a marathon you weren't prepared for. Suddenly, the safety net of structure disappears, and for the first time in your life, no one is telling you exactly what to do next. That freedom sounds exciting, but in reality, it's terrifying. The world after high school is confusing because it demands decisions when most people are still trying to figure out who they even are. Should you go to college? Should you work right away? Should you chase a dream or play it safe with a steady paycheck? These questions pile up fast, and every choice feels like it could either set you up for success or ruin your future. And to make it worse, the pressure doesn't just come from inside, it comes from family, friends, and society too. Parents might push college, even if it means drowning in student debt, while others might pressure you to just get a job and start paying bills. Either way, it feels like no matter what path you choose, you're going to get judged. That constant weight makes life feel less like an adventure and more like a trap. Money makes things even harder. A lot of young people realize pretty quickly that being independent isn't as glamorous as it looks. Rent, food, car payments, phone bills, it all adds up faster than a first paycheck can cover. You start working just to survive, not to live. And if you don't come from a wealthy family, the stress hits even harder. For those raised in lower or middle-class homes, there's not always a financial cushion to fall back on. So mistakes feel permanent, and opportunities feel out of reach. It's exhausting to watch people on social media living their best lives while you're stuck working long hours just to keep your head above water. That gap between expectation and reality can leave you feeling like you've already fallen behind before you've even had a chance to start. On top of financial stress, the social world changes too. High school friendships you thought would last forever slowly fade as people move away, go to different schools, or get caught up in their own lives. The social circle that once gave you comfort and identity starts to shrink, and loneliness creeps in. You might find yourself missing the very thing you once complained about, the sense of belonging that school gave you. Without that, it's easy to feel disconnected and unsure of where you fit in the bigger picture of life. But here's the thing, it's not just you. Almost everyone feels this way after high school, even if they don't admit it. Life feels like it sucks and is confusing, because you're going through one of the biggest transitions of your life, one that nobody really prepares you for. The good news is, while this stage is overwhelming, it's also the stage where you start to build who you really are. The struggle doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're growing, learning how to make decisions, handle stress, and keep going when things don't make sense is what slowly shapes you into the person you're meant to be. So yeah, life after high school can feel like a storm. It's confusing, it's stressful, and it's unfair sometimes, but storms don't last forever. If you can push through the uncertainty, learn from the mistakes, and keep moving forward even when it feels messy, you'll eventually find direction. And when you do, you'll realize that the very struggle that once made you feel lost is the same struggle that made you strong enough to handle whatever comes next. Life after high school often feels like stepping into an unfamiliar wilderness without a map. Because for so many years life was shaped by bells ringing, assignments due, teachers directing you, and parents reminding you of responsibilities. But once you walk across that graduation stage, everything that once seemed like a structure suddenly dissolves, leaving you with a million possible directions yet no clear path. And while some people may celebrate freedom, for many it feels like a trap disguised as choice, because the world expects you to know what to do, where to go, and how to succeed, even though nobody ever really taught you how to navigate adulthood, manage finances, deal with stress, or find purpose. And this gap between what you thought life would be and what it really is makes the first years after high school some of the most confusing and discouraging, especially if you come from a lower class or working class background where survival is already a constant struggle. Because now the safety net of free schooling, free meals, and being considered just a kid is gone, and bills, debt, and responsibilities come knocking before you even know how to answer. Suddenly, The job market becomes a battlefield where entry-level positions demand years of experience, and the pay is barely enough to cover rent, let alone dreams, so you feel forced into working long hours at low-wage jobs that drain your energy and leave no room for exploring passions. And when you compare yourself to peers on social media who seem to be thriving posting about college life, new cars, or vacations, you begin to spiral into self-doubt, asking yourself if you missed something, if you're already behind, or if life will always feel like this endless cycle of stress and confusion. On top of that, relationships shift dramatically. The friends you saw every day in high school begin to drift away, moving to different states, chasing careers, or just getting busy with their own lives. And the once tight bonds that gave you a sense of belonging suddenly dissolve into distant memories and occasional social media likes, leaving you with a loneliness that weighs heavier than expected, because no one told you how hard it would be to rebuild the community from scratch as an adult. Family expectations also add to the pressure, because many parents push for college even if they can't afford it, expecting you to somehow figure out loans and tuition, while others may pressure you into working immediately to contribute to household expenses. And either choice comes with guilt, sacrifice, and a nagging feeling that you're not truly living for yourself. Even college, which is often sold as the golden ticket to success, doesn't guarantee clarity or stability. Instead, it brings overwhelming debt stress from endless assignments, and the harsh realization that a degree no longer guarantees a good-paying job. So many students graduate into the same financial uncertainty they tried to escape, only now they carry a burden of tens of thousands of dollars in loans. For those who skip college, the path is no easier, because society often looks down on people who don't pursue higher education, labeling them as unmotivated or unambitious, while in reality many are just trying to survive, pay bills, and maybe find a skill or trade that gives them stability. But the stigma still eats at their soul. This constant push and pull between expectations and reality builds a deep confusion about what success even means, because the blueprint handed down by older generations, go to school, get a degree, find a stable job, buy a house, raise a family, no longer works in today's economy, where housing prices are astronomical, wages stagnate, and job security is rare. So young people end up stuck in a loop of questioning, stressing, and second-guessing themselves, wondering if they will ever find their way. And through all this, mental health often takes a sharp decline, because the transition from the structured, socially rich environment of high school to the isolating, uncertain reality of adulthood can trigger anxiety, depression, and a heavy sense of purposelessness. Yet many people are too ashamed to admit they're struggling, especially men who are conditioned to stay silent about emotions, so they carry their confusion and pain alone, further deepening the cycle of loneliness. To make matters worse, time moves differently after high school. While in school, every year felt like a milestone. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, adulthood blurs time into endless work weeks and bills, and before you know it, years pass with little sense of progress, which makes you wonder if you wasted your youth, or if everyone else is secretly living a better, more meaningful life than you. This illusion is fed by the constant comparison culture of the internet, where people showcase highlight reels of their lives while hiding their struggles, creating a false sense that you're the only one lost or falling behind, when in reality millions of young adults feel the exact same confusion, but the silence around it makes it worse. The truth is, life after high school often sucks. Not because people are lazy or unmotivated, but because society sets up impossible expectations, provides little guidance, and creates an economy where basic stability is out of reach for many, especially those from lower-class families who don't have the cushion of generational wealth or strong connections to fall back on. Instead, they are forced to grind endlessly, often working 2 or 3 jobs, just to cover the basics, leaving no time or energy to dream, explore, or build the life they truly want. And this survival mode way of living slowly drains the joy out of life, making adulthood feel like a prison rather than a liberation. And yet, despite how bad it feels, this stage of life also carries a hidden lesson: that confusion and struggle are not signs of failure, but part of the messy process of figuring out who you are and how you want to exist in the world. Though in the moment, it rarely feels that way. It just feels like endless stress, endless bills, and endless questions with no clear answers. Still, the reality remains that life after high school is one of the hardest, most disorienting transitions people go through, because you're thrust into independence without preparation, forced to define success on your own terms, and expected to carry yourself through hardships with little support. And it's no wonder so many feel lost, lonely, and confused during those first years, because the world is far harsher, messier, and more unforgiving than the comfort of classrooms and hallways ever led you to believe.